Welcome to Voyage Daily Tech, the most important news personalized for you every day, supported by Voyage.com.
All right, we've got 5 major stories for you today, tracking the high-stakes moves of some of the biggest names in tech. So here's what's on our radar. First up, we'll explore how an Alibaba-backed AI company is challenging OpenAI with a model that's 100 times cheaper, and it's open source. Then we'll investigate why crypto exchanges seem to have bent their own rules to list Donald Trump's TRUMP meme coin, a move that puts small investors at massive risk. After that, we're covering Nvidia CEO Jensen Huang's stunning claim that China can't rely on his company's chips for military use, which is a direct challenge to US export controls. Our fourth story looks at a bombshell lawsuit where Meta investors are suing Mark Zuckerberg personally for $8 billion over the Cambridge Analytica scandal. And we'll wrap up with a literal battle over hallowed ground, where the AI industry wants to build a massive data center on a historic Civil War battlefield. A new AI model just dropped that is 100 times cheaper than its biggest competitor. Now, this isn't a small discount. It's a bombshell dropped right into the heart of the AI race. The model is Kimi K2 from the Alibaba-backed startup Moonshot AI, and it's coming directly for the kings, OpenAI's ChatGPT and Anthropic's Claude. The core claim is audacious. Kimi K2 says it can beat both rivals in writing computer code, but the jaw-dropping number is the price. To process 1 million units of data, Anthropic's top model charges $15. Kimi K2, just 15 cents. That's not a typo, it's 100 times less. For data output, it's 30 times cheaper, but that's not the whole picture. The real turning point is that Kimi K2 is open source, meaning its code is free for developers to use and build on. This goes directly against the closed-off premium strategy of its main US rivals. The timing of this release is where things get really interesting. Almost simultaneously, OpenAI's CEO Sam Altman announced an indefinite delay for his company's first open source model, citing safety concerns. This all points to a fundamental conflict in the future of AI. One analyst calls Kimi K2 a globally competitive model, and developers are taking notice. One startup founder posted on X that it's the first model I feel comfortable using in production since Claude 3.5 Sonnet, and this isn't Moonshot's first challenge to the establishment either. Another of its models recently beat an OpenAI version on a benchmark called Humanity's Last Exam, a feat that even got a mention during Elon Musk's release of Grok 4. With performance that rivals the best and a price that's almost free, this move from China's tech scene raises a powerful question. Is the era of expensive, walled-off AI officially over? From a major challenge in the AI space, we're now shifting to a high-risk gamble in the world of crypto, one that involves a very prominent US political figure. So, a new crypto token was just listed by major exchanges in an average of 4 days. For similar popular tokens, that same process normally takes 129 days. The token? US President Donald Trump's meme coin, $TRUMP. Crypto exchanges like Coinbase publicly promise a rigorous vetting process to protect investors. Yet for the $TRUMP coin, Coinbase made its decision in just 1 day. This for a meme coin with no intrinsic value that launched and then crashed spectacularly, plummeting from a high of over $75 to just $7, wiping out fortunes for many small investors. One investor who lost big said, "It's probably one of my worst trades, unfortunately." So why the unprecedented speed? Exchanges claim it was simply overwhelming customer demand, but one CEO offered a more revealing take. Gracie Chen, the CEO of exchange BitJet, said the fact that Trump announced the coin himself should kind of solve the compliance issue, citing the fact that he's the president of the United States. This is where the situation takes a more complex turn. Exchanges pushed the coin through despite a massive red flag that would normally halt a listing. 80% of the coin supply was concentrated in the hands of the Trump family and its partners. This creates a huge risk of insiders dumping tokens and collapsing the price. The outcome was a story of two extremes. A tiny group of just 45 crypto wallets raked in $1.2 billion in profits. Meanwhile, over 700,000 other wallets suffered a collective loss of $4.3 billion. It all begs the question of what's really driving these decisions. A former senior crypto advisor at the SEC put it bluntly, You don't say no to hosting the president's new meme coin. The president controls who oversees your business and how they enforce the law. Speaking of powerful figures pushing the boundaries, the CEO of the world's most valuable tech company just looked the US government in the eye and said its biggest fear is wrong. Nvidia's Jensen Huang has gone on the record with an absolutely stunning statement about China's military using his chips. His words? We don't have to worry about it because, quote, they simply can't rely on it. He then doubled down, claiming China doesn't need American tech to build its military anyway. This isn't happening in a vacuum. This statement dropped just days after Huang met with political figure Donald Trump and was explicitly warned by US lawmakers not to engage with companies linked to China's military. To top it off, he's about to get on a plane for his second trip to China this year. So why is he playing with fire? The answer, as always, is in the numbers. US export controls have already vaporized nearly half of Nvidia's market share in China, with expected losses in the billions. Huang is now openly calling the policy a failure, arguing that for the US to win the AI race, its technology has to be the global standard. And that includes selling to China, home to half of the world's AI developers. However, if you zoom out, you'll see another layer of strategy at play. US officials are pointing fingers at a Chinese AI startup, DeepSeek, claiming it uses Nvidia chips while supporting China's military. Huang's response wasn't a denial, but praise, calling their technology revolutionary. This is a high-stakes tightrope walk between Washington and Beijing. Huang is actively criticizing the policies of one superpower while trying to maintain access to the massive market of its chief rival. He's balancing national security concerns against corporate survival and dominance. The ultimate question is no longer about chips, it's about who blinks first in this geopolitical showdown. And Jensen Huang isn't the only tech titan in hot water. Over at Meta, Mark Zuckerberg is facing a battle of his own, this one in a courtroom, and the price tag is staggering. He's being sued by his own investors, and they want him to personally pay back an eye-watering $8 billion. This isn't just another lawsuit against Meta. In a bombshell trial kicking off this week, shareholders are taking Zuckerberg and a who's who of Silicon Valley royalty to court. The defendants include former COO Sheryl Sandberg, venture capitalist Mark Andreessen, and former board members Peter Thiel and Reed Hastings. The core of the case goes back to the Cambridge Analytica scandal. Shareholders allege that Zuckerberg and his inner circle knowingly operated Facebook as an illegal enterprise, violating a 2012 agreement with the government to protect user data. The result was a record-shattering $5 billion fine for the company. Now, investors want Zuckerberg and the others to reimburse Meta for that fine and other costs, totaling over $8 billion. The defendants are calling the allegations extreme claims, arguing that Facebook was the victim of studied deceit by Cambridge Analytica. But the judge who originally handled the case wasn't so sure, stating, "This is a case involving alleged wrongdoing on a truly colossal scale." What really brought this to a head was the next development. The lawsuit also alleges that just before the Cambridge Analytica scandal broke and sent the stock price tumbling, Zuckerberg offloaded his own shares, reaping at least $1 billion in profit. The trial will put decade-old decisions under a microscope, but it all comes down to one central power struggle. The plaintiffs must prove that some of the most powerful figures in tech utterly failed in their duty. While the company has over 3 billion daily users across its platforms, this trial raises a fundamental question that echoes beyond the courtroom. Can we trust Mark Zuckerberg? This fight over corporate responsibility at Meta brings up a broader question about the tech industry's impact. Our final story today looks at a very different kind of battle. One, pitting the future of AI against America's past. A new war is brewing on the grounds of a pivotal American Civil War battlefield. But this time, the invader isn't an army. It's the AI industry. And it plans to build the largest data center development on Earth, right on top of historic land. At the Manassas National Battlefield Park, a 37-building complex is planned with a footprint of over 23 million square feet. It's called the Prince William Digital Gateway, and it's a direct response to the AI revolution's ravenous need for data processing. But a coalition of historians, environmentalists, and community advocates is now waging its own war to stop it. The American Battlefield Trust is suing to block the project, with its president declaring, "We're not just going to roll over. The core of the conflict isn't just about preserving history, it's about resources." Virginia's own electric utility, Dominion Power, expects the energy demand from the data center industry to quadruple in the next 10 years, contributing to the doubling of the entire state's power consumption. An expert from the Sierra Club calls the situation a growing crisis, warning that massive construction costs could lead to higher electricity prices for regular consumers. The approval for the digital gateway was finalized in a controversial marathon 27-hour town hall meeting. It was pushed through by a 4-3 vote from some legislators who, get this, had already lost their seats in a previous election. One activist says the developers took shortcuts because they anticipated public backlash, while the developer, QTS, says it will be respectful of the site's history. One local historian put the feeling on the ground bluntly. Nobody wants to look into the forest and see these massive monoliths rising. This isn't just a local fight. By 2030, data centers are projected to consume more energy than the entire country of Japan. It's a battle pitting America's past against its technological future, and it all begs the question, what price is too high for progress?
That's it for today on Voyage Daily Tech. Follow, share, and stay tuned for daily updates coming your way tomorrow.